Forget all, okay. Forget them all. Good tasting water.
Anything like this? Took your cup.
I didn't know I had one.
I brought my own.
Oh, okay.
BYOC.
You want your cup?
Being 7 o'clock, I call to order this May 14th, 2018 meeting of the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen. Please join me in pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have some public service announcement tonight.
Notification, broadcast.
No one's here? Oh. From the Roberts Field Advisory Committee?
Yes.
Broadcast.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, excuse me. Just one thing that, just want to announce that this is being recorded and played by Chelmsford Telemedia, and that for later viewing, if people want to watch it. I don't see any other members of the press here. Is there anyone? No one's here additional tonight. Excuse me.
Well, thank you. From the Roberts Field Advisory Committee, we wanted to bring you up to date on how our fundraising has been going. We have raised $82,000 thus far in donations and proceeds from the sale of bricks. We sold 739 bricks, which is more than we need to do the initial hookup with the bricks from 26 years ago. So we'll have a complete path leading to that to sort of merge the generations. And then we'll use the remainder elsewhere in the park. So we're very pleased with the outcome of that. We've also applied for $120,000 in grants. Most of them have 90-day review periods, so we're not going to hear until September, just so that you know. We do have, speaking of fundraisers, we have a fundraiser tomorrow night at Chipotle's up at Drum Hill from 4 to 8. If you mention Friendship Park, 50% of your sale will go to Friendship Park. So we hope tomorrow night many of you can do good and do well by having a burrito. And lastly, I wanted to invite everyone to our groundbreaking on Wednesday, 4 p.m. We are going to be joined by a guest speaker, Jeff Bauman from Chelmsford. So it's going to be a very exciting time. I know the committee is quite thrilled with the way progress has been going, and we can't wait to start putting things in the ground and building on the Community Build Weekend, which is June 2nd and 3rd. If anyone does wish to volunteer, we ask that you sign up at the Roberts Field website, friendsofrobertsfield.org/volunteers, so that we can make sure that the volunteers are spread out throughout the two-day event. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One question.
Sure.
After the community build date, any idea how long before it's officially opened?
There are a few more things that need to be done, including pouring concrete and laying brick and things like that. Our grand opening date right now is set for June 23rd, Saturday.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to it.
So glad they are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, as usual, we have an open session. Anyone who might like to address the board on any issue? Is there anyone tonight? Please state your name and address.
Well, first of all, good evening and hi. We're Ron and Mary Bader, and we live at 151 Middlesex Street, and we've owned our house there for since 1982. We're coming forward tonight to talk about the possibility of a new car dealership on 154 Middlesex Street. I'd just like to give you a brief history of the
May- We're going to have an open discussion on that public. Would you rather speak now, or then it's up to you?
Okay,
Would you
we're
rather
in
do-
we're a little bit unsure as to whether we should go now or later. We can go.
We can finish now.
Okay, great.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a little background of the neighborhood. Weber's Lumberyard was an established business when we moved in. In fact, my dad and I sat in Weber's Lumberyard looking across the street, hoping that the house that we looked at would someday be ours. It did become ours, and the family selling the house was my third grade CCD teacher, and I used to walk by the house most of my life. Weber's was one of those businesses that fit into the community. If we went next door to purchase items, then they knew us and they knew the responsibility of the neighborhood. The next business that moved in, they kept the same hours, Monday through Friday, 4 to 5, Saturday till noon, and Sunday no hours. The property was kept fairly clean, and few cars were in the fenced-in area. The property, the neighborhood had to deal with paint smell that would linger for days in the summertime, and the health levels were just below safety guidelines. Therefore, there was no solution. The next owner moved in, and there have been more activity with cars coming and going day and night. The property appears to have turned into a junkyard. The side fenced-in area has all types of car parts, and the same side fenced area has cars without plates that have not moved for weeks. Because this is a neighborhood that has also been zoned as business, our concerns are, do we need another car dealership within yards of each other? What cars will be put on the lot? Will Mako take in cars from painting, then put them on the lot to sell? What will the business hours of operation be, keeping in mind that past businesses for almost 30 years have been Monday through Friday, opening till noon, and no Sunday hours? How many cars will be allowed on the lot? Will there be overnight lights? What will the lot look like so that our property will not continue to lose its value? Last but not least, just because we may be able to put new businesses in, does that mean we should? Thank you.
Thank you very
Any
much.
questions?
What's there now?
Mako's there. Off to the right, if you're looking from Cedar Street on, there's an open lot that has, right now, probably between 20 and 30 cars.
The number of cars has increased greatly since the new franchisee came in.
That's
And-
within the fenced-in area?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I understand, just found out tonight, too, that they also own a piece of lot that they lease out to Welch's.
Welch's.
And that really looks bad. And that's separated by a chain link fence. But that's another question. Are they gonna take that property back and not get money for it, and then so they can expand it for this dealership?
And we apologize for coming out of order, but we weren't.
No, that's fine, no problem at all.
Yes.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to speak tonight? Being none, we'll go to committee vacancies. Ken?
Yes, the town is trying to fill several vacancies. We have one open vacancy on the Center Village Master Plan Implementation Committee, 4 vacancies on the Civic Committee. Community Action Program Committee is looking for 2 individuals. Cultural Council, up to 21. Energy Conservation Committee, looking for 2 seats to be filled. 3 people for the Holiday Decorating Committee. For the Parade Committee, all applicants are welcome, the more the merrier. Planning Board, they're looking for 1 associate position. 5 for the Public Celebrations Committee, 1 for the Recycling Committee, 2 individuals for the Sign Advisory Committee. Skate Park Committee is looking for 2 seats to be filled, and the Vinyl Square Strategic Action Plan is trying to fill 1 seat. If you're interested in serving on a town board or committee, please apply on the town website or contact the town manager's office.
Paul, I have a question about the planning board
Mm-hmm.
position. Has
Yeah.
it been scheduled when we're going to have a meeting for that, or?
Yeah, but the planning board doesn't have a candidate, so that's why it's sitting there. Basically,
Okay.
you know, as you know, that became vacant at the time, that became vacant at the time of the election.
Right.
And right now, there's no one to step forth, so usually that's a joint appointment with the members of the planning board. But right now, no one has stepped forward, so as soon as someone is identified, then we can do a joint meeting.
Okay.
All right, we have two public hearings scheduled tonight. First is a Class 2 auto dealer, Capital Motor Group. Is anyone here from that? Please step forward. Please state your name and address.
My name is Rodrigo Silva. My address is 30 Victor Street in Haverhill, Mass.
Thank you.
I look to
Excuse me, how long have you lived at Haverhill?
in Haverhill. Been live for like around 2 years, and
You're the owner.
the one of the house. No, I rent.
No, the owner, I'm sorry, the owner of the dealership?
Yeah, I'm gonna apply for a dealer license on 154 Middlesex Street. I just do a leasing for 1 year, and after 1 year, the owner, the property, gonna build an office over there, and go from there.
So you're initially going to put a trailer?
Yes, that what I spoke to Bill Inspector. He told me by Chelmsford they allowed you to put a trailer for the first year, and after 1 year it has to build office over there.
How big of a lot is that?
The lot is. I have the plans over here. Give me one
That we
second.
really couldn't see on our.
The whole lot look like around 200, like around 214 feet. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna rent half the lot over there, because she has the maple on the. If you look towards the building, they have a maple on the left side over there, and she has a lot where she leave her cars. I'm gonna rent half the lot towards to the right. That most like 70% of the lot I'm gonna rent from the lady. So it's gonna be, I have my own entrance, my own office, and my own lot. I don't have not to do with Mako.
Is there presently what kind of entrance is there to the lot at this point?
Oh, they have their own entrance. They have two different entrances, one for Mako and one for this lot.
One for the lot itself?
Yeah, they have, the way they have a gate over there, everything.
And the name of your group, Capital Motor Group, sounds like a bigger entity. Do you have other dealerships?
I work as a dealer for like 10 years, and I have people work with me. So you look to put like around like 35 cars over there to 40 cars.
But do you have another location that you run?
I work with Four Season Motor Group and Swampscott. Work with them right now.
All right, and how long have you been in this kind of business?
Been like more than 10 years.
Okay.
So you work for the group in
No,
Swampscott?
I work as a partner with them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have my own cars. Just
says-
work as a team.
Who has the driver's license in Plastown, New Hampshire?
I do.
So you have a driver's license in Mass and one in New Hampshire?
No, I have New Hampshire only, and the lady from the board told me to transfer the license to Mass. I went over there to transfer my license right now, but they changed the whole law now. I don't know if you know about that. So they set up to me to go back in June 14 to transfer the license.
Do you have any anticipated hours of operation?
The operation, basically, I'm gonna work what the town tell me. If allowed to work like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and if we can work Saturday half day, I will work Saturday half day, and no Sundays.
Are there any, Paul, are there any rules on hours for this kind of?
It's what the board determines.
We can set
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
All right.
It seems to me that it's kind of a moot point right now until he obtains a Massachusetts driver's license. I think you need a Massachusetts driver's license to hold a
Dealer's license?
used car.
Because you don't have a dealer's license, right?
I use a dealer license where the people work right now. No.
Yeah,
We
New
have-
Hampshire, right?
The dealer license, you work by the town. The town where you work, you have to apply on your own town. You can
It's
transfer.
not your license though, right?
No, I use the license from Swampscott where I work right now. You cannot, the dealer license you cannot transfer one town to another town.
But you can't transfer it from one town to another.
So we're
What
issuing
town? I'm trying to
license.
figure out
No,
what
we-
license.
What are you asking? The car, like driver's license?
No, that was the first question. The next question is now what operating, what used car license does he have?
I
to
use it
sell
from
cars?
Swampscott.
Pardon?
Swampscott, Mass.
Swampscott, Mass?
Yeah.
We don't have any jurisdiction over that, so
No,
No,
but
no.
he's applying for one
We
here.
apply for
in
another
Chelmsford.
license over here, sir.
He wants a second one.
you can't get one without a Mass driver's license. Am I correct?
That's correct.
I mean, this states right there from the police chief, right? He was one of his concerns.
Yeah.
No, you can, I believe you can allow to, doesn't matter what state you live, because I used to be living in New Hampshire and work in Mass. You apply on a town. The license, they give you, like the board on the town give you the license, and after that you go by the state trooper. The state trooper come to the lot, inspect the lot. My personal life, they don't have nothing to do with the dealer license.
I think it does, as far as owning it. I think you have to have a driver's license in Massachusetts. But that's up to, I would like to see this postponed until he gets a mass license and goes through that's my opinion, you go through the proper channels. And then, has the bill inspector gone out and taken a hard look at this, Paul?
Yes, yeah, you see the sign off, you see the sign offs from the department heads.
Yeah, I did, but
does mention-
remember what we spoke about, a piece of property across the street as well, that the neighborhood is starting to,
Right.
and it's kind of the gateway into the best part of town, North Chelmsford, right, so.
But it does mention that it may require planning board approval.
Evan Belansky notes that, right,
Okay.
the site plan.
So I think you have some additional meetings you have to attend in order to get this license, sir. That's only my opinion, but, you know, I would move until I'm comfortable. I don't know if you people are comfortable.
Well, I think what we are referring to here, just reading Chief's kind of comments, is that he submitted an application that has his address listed as Haverhill. On our background check, it came up as New Hampshire, so the application's not in good order.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Because my license is in New Hampshire.
Right.
And when I applied the license, I live in Haverhill now, right now, but I'm not allowed to transfer the license motor vehicles. If you go to motor vehicles, they're gonna take you like 30 days, 60 days to transfer a license right now. They're so
Right.
busy because of the new law. I can transfer as soon as I get an appointment, but
Well, I think we really, regardless of what the state does, we can't circumvent the rules. The rules are the rules.
That's not what I'm reading.
What are you reading, Emily?
So Chief Spinney says that, other than this inconsistency with the driver's license and the residence, he finds no issues with the request for the auto dealer's license. And it seems that the licensing board has say over whether or not the business owner can run the business there.
No, I think,
He doesn't have a valid, technically he doesn't have the right to drive in Massachusetts at this point.
Under a New Hampshire driver's license?
Yes, because he's the resident in Massachusetts that's the problem.
I see.
so at the minimum, I think we need to have town council
You know, council.
guide us on this issue, and that we put it off for at least 2 weeks
And you-
to our next meeting and investigate a little further.
You have
Not
an
saying
attorney,
no, we're
sir?
not
Do you have an
saying
attorney?
yes at this point.
Represent you? Do you have an attorney?
oh, represent over here?
Yeah.
No, I don't. You need an
I
attorney for
mean, to
that?
represent your business or whatever.
No, I got my own attorney. I don't know I need an attorney to come with me over here tonight. I can get my own lawyer and come
Okay.
represent me if you need.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions?
I would have your attorney contact maybe the building inspector, maybe, Paul, or.
Yeah, it should be the building inspector.
Or the chief of police, one or the other.
The
Or
chief,
both.
please. Okay.
Anyone else from the public would like to comment on this?
That's, the problem is the issues, that's because of my driver license, that's what the issues.
Well, you
That's
also
one
have
of
an
the
issue with the
reasons.
planning board, so you probably should continue to your June 4th meeting to
Yeah,
get
I
that
think
issue
in 2
resolved. You're
weeks
not gonna
is
do
not
this in a
enough
week.
time.
You're gonna do this in a week.
So what I'm seeing here is, and this is what Paul was saying, is that all Massachusetts residents need to obtain a valid Massachusetts license in order to operate a motor vehicle in Massachusetts. So technically, because you are a Massachusetts resident,
Yes.
you are in violation of that law by not having a Massachusetts license. So, I think what they're saying is that once you have a valid Massachusetts driver's license that lists your current address on it, then it would be the appropriate time to come.
Okay, if I go on the DMV in Mass, okay, I don't know, I can try go over there and see if they give me a letter, because they set up appointment for me for June 14. Actually,
Okay.
then I can bring the letter, that's valid for you, for the border?
Right, but he also needs to go to the planning and community and building department to see if he needs planning board approval as well for the site plan for this process.
Yeah, well, that's on here, right? There's an
Right,
asterisk.
exactly,
Right.
Yeah.
exactly.
So once you get our approval, then you have to go to the planning board and get their approval.
And I
Vice
think
versa,
if you
yeah.
have a letter, what he's asking is if he has a letter indicating that he has an appointment with the DMV all set up to transfer his license.
It still wouldn't qualify.
I still,
But if you get pulled over and you say, look, I'm in the process of it, they're gonna,
Because they so behind,
what
they
they're
so
gonna-
back up, they're gonna set up for June 14. Gonna have to,
Right.
if you guys accept that, I can bring the letter and keep it moving, because I started this process in December over here, and been like 5
Well,
months
you said
already.
he could start the planning board process, right?
right, yeah, he can start the
So,
plan.
so we don't have to slow you down. You've
You
got to
should
get through
start the
planning
planning
board first. So go through planning board while you're getting the letter,
Right.
and then come back.
Then come back
But
here,
don't-
exactly.
So don't stop, just go do the planning board piece. Because they'll talk to you about the lights, the size of the lot, any, having to go to conservation committee, they'll talk to you about all of that.
Right.
So continue with that process, 'cause that's gonna take longer than June,
Fourth, yeah.
whatever date,
June 14.
14th. So,
month.
and then you can come back to us.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, who would know the customary hours of an operation like this?
Well, we can review the licenses we have on record.
Right,
But you
can we initiate that?
Sure, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So we
No.
need to-
We will,
You need to
yes, would you
continue
like
it.
to speak again?
No,
Oh,
No.
Remember to continue. it.
When they're done.
Ron Bader at 151 Middlesex Street, right directly across from the business. I just want to clarify something. I think he said 35 cars on that lot for sale. Is that correct? That's a lot of cars. That is a small lot.
That's by the layout. They go by the layout, the square feet of the lot.
Yeah, he'll have to go in
He'll
front
have
of.
to go to the planning board
and
to
they'll-
verify.
They'll measure the spaces, they have rules on
Yeah.
length and width of spaces and so forth.
I mean, you drive by that place, you'll see.
Yeah.
It's really a ridiculous proposal, but thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this tonight? All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on this?
Continue the public hearing.
And continue it for probably till,
June 25th, maybe, because I don't see how he's going to get it done by the 4th for the
yeah,
planning
June
board.
25th.
and he won't have his DMV thing before the
Right,
14th.
right, exactly.
So,
So I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing till June 24th meeting,
25th.
25th meeting?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Ken?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. We have a second public hearing on the inholder at all alcoholic beverage license for alteration of the premises, DBA Radisson. Someone here tonight?
Hi, all. Thank you for having me. Stephen Merrill, representing 10 Independence Way, the Radisson Chelmsford Hotel. So I think you may have already received all the paperwork and documentation needed. Hopefully it's been reviewed and all. Everything should be in order. Essentially what we've applied for with the ABCC is basically just to have the license, we moved the restaurant from one location on property to another location on property. So essentially, if we were in this room here, we moved it to another room down the hall, essentially. And we were told we needed to get an alteration of premises application for ABCC and submit that with all the due paperwork and layout of the new location, which we've done.
You the attorney for the company, sir?
No, sir, I'm the regional manager.
Manager?
Yes, sir.
You currently the manager now, or?
I'm currently, yes, the regional manager, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else here tonight to speak on this? A question.
Yes.
Since you're here, maybe you could just kind of inform the public a little bit about changes that you've done up there and why you've moved it from one location to another.
Sure, absolutely, my pleasure. The current location, where it was before, has been changed over to a Holiday Inn Express hotel. So the same ownership group, essentially, if you're familiar with the hotel, there was a sort of walkway, this kind of wasn't very sightly walkway, between the two buildings, one property. And they were up against this piece of the separation of buildings and where the pool was and where the restaurant was for a long time, and the place started to lose money after a while. So they decided to take down that piece that separates and put up a new hotel. So the Holiday Inn Express will be introduced to Chelmsford. I think the date of opening is around June 15th or so. So because of that, that was the part of the building which actually did house the restaurant and essentially the lounge as well. Because we moved that into a different area, this is what prompted this particular alteration.
Thank you. So there's no one else here to speak tonight? All right. Would you like to make a motion to close the
Okay,
public hearing?
just a question? Or-
Sure.
Sure.
So with the Holiday Express, what are they going to do there as far as food for guests? Are you going to come back and into it, and ask us for another liquor license for that building?
No. Essentially, the Holiday Inn Express, that being a different brand, doesn't require that we serve only breakfast. It requires that we serve only breakfast, not lunch, dinner, or alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah. If it did change, then at that point there, we'd probably have to approach for something different. But I can't see that happening with the brand at any point in time, anytime soon.
I just have a question
Sure.
on your lease. I noticed that the names of the tenant and the landlord are very similar. Is there a relationship there, a family relationship?
Yes. Yes, there is, yes.
Just curious.
The last name would be Patel?
That's it.
Yeah, it's a very large family.
Well, I know that's a very common name,
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Petroselli is my family. I'm Merrill. Petroselli is my family's name from the north end of Boston, and you see them everywhere. So it's kind of the same. Patel and Indian. Is a lot.
Yeah, okay,
Big family.
thanks.
Considering the pool, has there been a contact with the Board of Health? Because they've been very vocal in some respects concerning lifeguards and so forth.
Absolutely. We just attended about an hour ago a meeting for that downstairs, and everything went well. Perfect. So I've been the regional manager, taking over this area for about the last 9 months. And, part of my duty was to make sure that we were compliant with the Board of Health across the board with Mark. And I think our relationship has definitely grown in that sense. We were granted our variance, and we will continue to provide the Board of Health with the necessary information that they need over the next 9 months, if you will, to satisfy their requirements.
Thank
So
you.
the pool's open, no lifeguards?
Is that?
The pool's open, no lifeguards?
On the weekends, so just like any other pool, on the weekends. We have, as far as the pool goes, we have now 5 certified pool operators, including myself, to kind of back up the folks. It was a process, basically, breakdown. There was one CPO. It's not going to be there 7 days, at your highest bathing load, the morning time opening, the nighttime closing. So now that we have that coverage, it's made it a lot easier to make sure that we're compliant with that.
Oh, good job. Glenn and I were at that meeting at the Board of Health, and you laid out that you'd get get in compliance, get enough
Absolutely.
CDOs ready, so good job.
As I said, I just got to pull myself. I probably wouldn't have if I had taken the class first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve, get the wording right here. The application to move the liquor license, is that the right word?
Alteration of premises.
Alteration of premises, the application for the alteration of premises for the Radisson Hotel.
All those in favor?
Need a second.
Excuse me.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks again.
Good luck.
Next, we have some licenses. Ken, do you want to read through them?
Charlie Mickles here.
Charlie Mickles for the first one.
First one is
Charlie,
Charlie.
come up and talk.
Charlie here?
Yeah.
First one is one-day expansion of entertainment license for the Center Brick House Pizza in One Central Square.
Charlie Mickles, Center Brick House Pizza, 1 Central Square. We are looking to expand our entertainment license on July 3rd, as we did a few years ago, and then we did again last year. I think you have the diagram. We have put a stage out and have actually music elements. Has a group of kids coming this year, Caroline Gray, and then Dick and Jane's coming to play again this year. So,
How about the boss,
boss.
your wife?
Yes.
Steve, had everyone sign off appropriately for it.
Excuse me?
I see you have documentation that people have signed, various people.
Yeah,
have
so we
signed
reached for us, we reached out to our abutters, and everyone was, happy with last year's event and looking forward to this year. And we reached out to the parade people as well, and the,
You're
also-
extending it by 1 hour, is that correct?
we're not extending
Same.
our hours are going the same. We moved the hours an hour,
Right.
yes, but we're not extending them.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we did 3 to 9, and here we're doing 4 to 10.
all right. Do we have a motion?
I have a question.
Yep.
So, and this may not be for you, Charlie, but in our book, there's, the section for Charlie, and then 4 pages later, there's another email from Jeffrey Blake that references Center Brick House Pizza.
Because it's on a different topic. It's really having to do with this. But it
Final
just-
Square?
But it just is because it's a different situation.
Oh, so they just grabbed, they were forwarding an email? Is that,
It's, if you look
Okay.
at the date on that email.
yeah, no, I was trying to follow it, yeah, okay.
That should be a year ago. Is that a current letter, or a year, is it, no?
No, it's a long time
No, it's
ago.
referencing the previous situation.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So, make a motion to approve the license for the
1 day.
one-day license for Brick House Pizza?
Do we have
Second?
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I vote. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Good
Good
luck.
luck.
Thanks.
Second, we have a one-day beer and license for Chelmsford Public Library. Is anyone here tonight from them?
They're unable to be present this
Hey,
evening.
this is a repeat of
Repeat, yeah.
every year.
And they're all tip certified, and it's for their event at the library.
All right, do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion for the one-day beer and wine license for the Chelmsford Public Library.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 5-0.
Same thing with the Legion, probably.
All-day alcoholic beverage license for the American Legion, final post, outdoors. Anyone here tonight?
This is the one where it had the information, but I know some of those rules have changed too, as far as the ABCC, so, I don't know, I'll just leave it there.
Have they done this previously?
Yes, they have without
Every year.
Every year, right?
Yeah, they did it last year, yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion for the one-day all alcohol beverages license for the cancer fundraiser to be held at the American Legion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have a Class 2 auto dealer change of location, PS Car Sales, 103 Princeton Street. Here tonight concerning that?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm Ken St. Hilaire from Northeast Transmission and Auto Sales, and I am formally requesting that my license be transferred to Phil Smith Car Sales. P.S. This is Phil Smith. Hi.
Paul, can I ask you this?
Any reason why you're changing it? Any particular reason? You're transferring it?
I'm done pretty much with that. I'm so busy with the car repair, I'd like to utilize the license properly, and just transfer it to Phil Smith. I'm basically doing auto repair at this point and very little with used cars.
And Phil, have you been handling this for some time?
Yes.
How long?
I've been running my dealership since 2012, I'd say.
All right, for some years.
Yeah.
Am I correct that there seem to be some violations? concerning this?
That's the.
Can you address that? There seems to be quite a few violations for over
Well,
number of
between my
cars.
businesses here, a lot of cars are coming and going between repair and sales. It's a pretty dynamic business. So the car lot was 35. I don't know what it originally was. When I took it over in '96, it was 35 cars. And we've talked about expanding it. The lot is over an acre lot. It certainly can handle the cars, but, there have been violations where they've gone by and counted more than the 35 cars. There were 36 or 38. And some days there's less than that, and, we have all that space out back where I'm working on the cars that is, most of the time, empty or half full. The lot certainly can handle more, but it's broken off, and fenced in, so the back is a little bit separate. It certainly could be opened up and the fence doesn't need to be there. I just put it that way so the back is a little more is private. But, the cars do come and go and they were being counted and we had overages.
Am I correct in that the building inspector is the one who determines that
Yes,
capacity?
And he's the enforcement officer, yes.
And he was favorable to this change to 45 cars?
Well, he did say
The
in,
concerns,
yeah, request that the applicant, that any future violation will result in a forfeiture of license, and it looks like there's been over 10 violations. Just because you can fit more than 35 doesn't, physically doesn't mean you're legally allowed to.
Yes, I understand.
Right,
We didn't never, intentionally was trying to violate.
Under a dealer's license, he was authorized to have 35 cars for sale. So, in all transparency, I know Ken, I know the lot, he's repaired one of my transmissions once, but if he has 35 cars for sale, but he's got 15 cars out back doing repair, the license is for 35 cars to sell, correct?
Yeah, but it's 35 cars for sale on the premises, that's correct.
But what if he's servicing 15 cars?
Then that's a different issue, but you can't have them out there displayed, and I think that's
Right.
been the issue.
It is difficult. I mean, I'm repairing other people's cars all the time too, and I've been there since '96, and I was at another location since, '82, '83. So, I mean, I've got cars with plates on them too that have nothing to do with the used cars at all. They're being repaired. So it's really difficult to just, start counting cars and then, and saying that they're, we've got them out for sale and they're violating. We're not trying to violate. We're trying to run a really clean operation, and we've done so. And Phil and I both have been in the town for quite some time.
Because what happens is they come in with a plan, they show the cars that'll be displayed for sale, the cars would be parked by people who are visiting the establishment to purchase vehicles, and then the employee vehicles, and then in this case, other vehicles that are being repaired or stuff in the back.
Right.
And so I
Is
think the
there-
violations have been too many cars for sale.
Is there anything that you can do to assure us that you're not going to have more than a certain amount of cars in that space?
We'd actually like to request too, that, an expansion of it and to maybe put it at 45 cars or something. Somehow to come to a, something that would be reasonable. Where we're not, continuously, the lot's a good-sized lot, and it's been a used car lot since before I bought it. I transferred the license from Richard Delgarian in @96. It was a used car lot. Before that, it was Chelmsford Auto Sales. Back in Chelmsford Auto Sales days, I believe there was 50 cars out front, at a time, and that, before Delgarian put the fence up, before there was no fence. So it's a pretty large lot.
Again, we're not trying to say that the business isn't appropriate for that space.
Yep.
We're just saying that, the rules are the rules,
I
that it's supposed to have X amount of spaces, and, the building inspector is trying to live by the rules, and we just need some sort of finite, whatever. If you consider it in default, it could come back to this board, and we could just take away the license, and you'd have to move all the cars out of there for a set period of time until you
Right.
reinstated.
Yeah,
We wouldn't want that, and we're just trying to look for some common ground
sure.
to ensure that that doesn't happen and that we don't put the building inspector in a bad situation.
Yep.
So that's why we're reaching out to you. Is there any way that,
Well,
you know what, in your business, in your repair business, are you allowed X amount of cars
No.
for,
No, I don't run a junkyard. When the car's done, I call people and get it out right around. I try to run a really clean lot. I'm very critical of keeping it clean, open, the, tow trucks and the UPS trucks and all the deliveries can get in, and that we can plow, I wouldn't, if you said take 100 cars and put them in there, I'd say, no, we don't need that. I don't want it looking bad. I want it to look nice. They've taken very good care of the building, over the last 20 years, 22 years.
what do you think about this, George? You've been in this end of town and seen it.
No, he runs a good shop. I live in a neighborhood, I'm by there all the time. He's always, if there's anything, there's probably a few extra cars sometime, but
It's one of the best-looking businesses on the strip.
they're all high-end cars and clean.
So do you feel that changing it to 45 is going to keep you out of
Yeah.
harm's way,
That
per
would-
se?
Yeah, and so it wouldn't be the friction, and not that we want to just stuff more cars in there. I certainly would like to keep it looking proper and safe.
So if we go forward with this and allow 45 cars, do you feel that the building inspector is going to go down there and find 50 cars and find you in violation again?
No, we've got to stick to our agreement.
And if he does, and he comes back here and we take the license temporarily while it's straightened out,
Right.
are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Can I?
One of
can I-
the,
So if this was a car dealership 30 years ago that had 50 cars on it, why was it reduced to 35?
It depends on what the people in between have asked for under a license. Like, you've got the example tonight where you have a license of 35 and they're asking for 45.
Okay.
So back then, because what happens is they'll do a hearing, and then they'll look at how the lot's gonna be laid out. And
Okay.
maybe they've changed the configuration over time.
Okay, and so is this something as simple as just saying we can grant you an extra 10 slots right now without any kind of,
Usually they show a site plan that shows how the cars are being laid out.
Right.
do you,
We started that a year or maybe 2 years ago, and I kind of let it go. I've been so busy at work. But kind of laid it out, the dimensions of the lot and how large it is, and just spacing it by, say, 10 foot per car, not so that they were squished in there. And there's certainly room for it, But I believe there used to be, and there's certainly rules for all of that, that, building inspectors have codes to follow, so for the safety of everybody, and you don't put so many cars in there, you can't clear the snow. I'm witness of that over the years. We've had horrible winters, and it's really difficult to clear when you have that many cars. So there is a reason to have a limit of cars, because otherwise some people would just stuff them in there, and it doesn't
Right.
look good. There is a business down the street that has too many, I think, in it, but I don't know what their limit is. But I think before this, they're like Duffy's, correct me if I'm wrong, has an unlimited car license because they used to issue them.
Okay.
Unlimited, has big spot, but
So
you can't
this
do
is-
that. You need to have limitations.
This is your current plan,
Yes.
and there are 45 spaces shown on here?
So is
Looks
this,
like more than
Looks like a lot
45.
more,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's-
Like,
It's 30 just on the right,
Yeah.
the right thing, yeah.
Doesn't mean he has to use them.
I think she just did that as a layout. I haven't seen that myself. I think she did that, right?
Plus, if somebody
Well-
drives in to buy a car, you know, that you can't count that car.
there's like 90 spaces there.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind, there's a chain link fence, right, like where it says 7 on that map, and that divides the front lot from the back lot.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice to have
We're not
a
trying to-
correct map?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
I
I
didn't
think
lay
that
that
kinda
out.
shows-
I don't know how
there
many
is a
cars are there. How many
dashed
cars are
line
there?
here.
Yeah, that's
Do you
the
see
chain
it?
link fence.
That's the chain
From
link
what you
fence
see
right
on
there.
the screen, there's 43 cars sitting on that lot with a 35-car house lot license that you see right now.
Yep.
The new plan was done
No.
up with specs on exactly how
42.
much per car space by a civil
That's correct.
engineer, stating that there'd be enough to support the 45. He's not asking for more than 45, just enough to make it.
Right, this is
within
what you
reason.
could do, but they're not asking for that, they're only asking for 45. But it goes back to my other question, Paul, like, what do you do if, so Phil says, I want 45, we approve that, but now Ken's fixing cars in the back, and he's got another 10,
Those aren't for sale.
right, so he's all set with
He's
the
all set in the
45
back,
out
yeah,
front.
yeah.
Because I read Mark's comment, oh, well, I counted X amount of 40-something cars here, but when you count the front ones, and I know Phil usually parks his car in the front on that curb, and those 2 cars aren't for sale. So if I just count the cars for sale, there's 37, I think, in the picture that are actually
Right.
for sale.
Right, but you don't know what could be displayed on the windshields of those other ones that are also on the property. In other words, what is being displayed for
Right.
sale is the question.
Right, I
If
think,
a defined area that the repaired cars are in,
That's
Well,
what,
yeah.
so
would be
that
part of
we
your
would
plan.
know it, and the
Yeah.
building inspector
That
would
part
not
of the site
be.
plan. Right.
But you do have that, right? You've got a chain link fence that divides the car lot from the repair that you can
Yeah,
close that
it's
gate.
a wooden stockade, wooden
Yeah.
fence, yeah.
There's a-
And that can be part of the license, that all vehicles for sale should be kept to the front of the lot, on the other side of the fence.
There was another issue is when cars get dropped off there, they get ramped in sometimes in the middle of the night. We don't necessarily know when they're landing. So those, they haven't even been cleaned, repaired, or anything, so they get dropped. So
Right.
that sometimes makes the count go over,
Well,
which,
So
If it
how is
goes
this
over, it's
count
over.
done?
Maybe, how is
Like,
it done?
I-
The building inspector
my-
shows up and,
Shows up and counts, but is he only counting the cars that have, whatever, 7,500 on the
Made
windshields?
for
So if
sale, yeah.
nothing is marked on the windshields and it is not apparently for sale,
Right.
it doesn't get counted?
that's correct.
So what this is saying then is that this hasn't been that situation where you've had random cars dropped off. It sounds like there have been a surplus of cars
I don't know
marked
how
for
he
sale.
was counting them. I mean, I think we've had it, the 7 when they're supposed to be 35, or 38 when they're supposed to be 35. I agree with you that they should stick to the limit and keep to it and not have that, but he's saying it's volatile. If a tow truck drops off a car, and then the next morning, he's gonna decide where he's sending it, or I'm sending a car back out,
Like, when you say sending it out,
Well, it's gotta be cleaned, it's gotta be repaired. Cars that he may purchase or I may purchase aren't ready for sale. They might need to go somewhere else to be repaired. Might need body work, it might need, they all need cleaning.
You're referring to cars you buy at auction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
okay.
move around a lot. It is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
volatile. It might go up,
Yep.
it might go down. It might be less than 35.
So I think what I'm hearing then is what you need is a little leeway in that, because you generally have 35 for sale,
Right,
but
so
sometimes you might have some that are almost ready for sale because you've just bought them at auction.
does every
Correct.
car that's for sale have a price on it? I wouldn't think so.
yes,
So if
Everyone
you,
does.
they would be tagged.
There'd be some sort of identification.
Correct. I think
but
you
a
put
fresh
like
off the auction
window
car,
sticker.
That would not be
a
tagged.
fresh off the auction car would not be tagged and therefore would not be counted.
Correct. Well, it may have gotten counted because it was on the lot, but it wasn't.
Yeah, if somebody doesn't see
It's
a
like,
plate,
it's
might
in
be
the
counting
process
it.
of being,
Okay.
Clean,
But if
whatever.
it's on the lot, it's part of what the building inspector is gonna look at. We can't put him in a
Right,
bad
it's
position.
right,
It's
exactly,
not
right.
fair to him.
Because they have site plan for the back part of the lot as well, in terms of repair
Well, let me
business as
ask-
well. You just can't
If you,
overload it, because again, if you have to get emergency vehicles, everything in there, you're
Right,
just.
right, right.
right, if you had a 45 little car license,
Yep.
how many of those 10 violations would go away? All of them?
Well, at one time, he's counted over 50, so probably not all of them,
So
but,
maybe you might only have a violation once.
But there should,
I'm in agreement
but
with
Ken,
there
there
should
should
just
be,
stuff cars
there should
in a
be
lot.
none,
Right, no, I agree.
other than once in a great while.
So can we put a condition on this? If it happens again, I mean,
Zero tolerance?
I like, can this be a warning? Like, don't let this happen again. If it does, the penalty
Doesn't it
is.
come to us?
I mean, how does that
Ultimately,
work?
revoke the license. He can fine them under our bylaw.
We're not trying to be an impediment to your
at all.
business.
I'm in agreement with
We're
you.
I'm
just
just trying to
to
figure
to
out
do
what the
some-
rules are.
I'm gonna give you
so.
100 cars, I'd say I don't need it. We can't stuff the lot. I'm the one that has to plow it, so I'm in agreement with you. You can only go by the size of the lot.
So, but what you're finding right now is that your business, as it's running right now, to keep it solvent and functional, you need a license for 45 cars because that,
It would take some of the pressure and the stress off with worrying about car count. And there's a spot out back, but I need to keep that open, and if I may decide to take the fence down, and it would be less crammed out front.
okay.
But right now, the cars are out front for sale. Take that down, the lot is a lot bigger.
So the problem is you have a common lot, two businesses using
Yes.
this common lot.
Yeah.
We have a set amount of vehicles that can be in the common lot.
Right.
Right now, it's 35. You have been in violation numerous
It's
times.
35 for sale.
Well, there's 35 cars or more on the
Yeah,
lot.
Paul said he understands that I've got cars back
And
in.
whether they're for sale or not, the building inspector's rules are the rules. He tries to enforce them as best he can. You'd want to increase it by 10, feeling that will get you out of trouble.
Mhm.
Is that enough?
Yes.
Because, if we go along with that, and you go over that, and we're not going to listen to an argument that some carrier dropped off 5 cars the night before, or I've got 8 cars in repair out there that usually I only have 2. If it's over 45, he is going to cite you. It's going to come back here, and we're liable to suspend your license.
Mhm.
Is that fair? Do you feel that's fair?
Yeah, we're asking for, bringing it from up to 35 to 45.
How do you feel
We
about that?
can't
Ken?
really put more than that out there, anyway, safely.
Well, I'm a little bit, it's for a car license to sell 45 cars. And again, I know the property, the two businesses are separated by a fence, and there is a gate. You shouldn't be counting the cars behind the fence that are there for repair.
Well, he just said he may take the fence down eventually.
Well, I mean, if they're separated, I don't know how you
Trying
run.
to explain to you how big the lot is.
Yeah,
and
it's a
that-
big
that-
lot.
The back of it's mostly empty.
And why don't you put the repairs back there?
The repairs are back there.
How many repairs do you have at a maximum?
I may have 10 cars, there used to be more. I used to have 15, 20 cars when I was, but
He's got 10 in there
that has
on the
shrunk
picture.
down.
He's got at least 10 on the picture.
But I keep the back lot so a big truck, a big UPS truck or a tow truck can spin around, or I can come in there and spin around with a trailer, and that's a lot of room. And that's the way I want it. I don't want cars on top of cars, and it aggravates me, and I make sure that that doesn't happen. They're basically talking about out front and going by and counting the cars, and there's 37, or there's 40, or there's 35, That does move
But when
around a
you-
lot, but I'm in agreement. If we could get that should get us out of the hot water with going back and forth with fines.
But it's noticeable, when you have a car for sale, and it's cleaned up and you're ready to sell it, what documentation do you put? Window stickers on the dashboard? How do you know it's for sale?
Typically, it'd be on the rearview mirror, like, it'd be kind of hung like this, and it has like a little, and then it would be, it would
Every
be frontline
dealership
ready,
has
we
it.
call it, you know what I mean, so.
So if there is just a repair shop, let's talk about you as a repair shop. Do they get assigned an amount of cars, a
Well,
repair shop?
we'd be under the planning board site plan approval for the lot, yeah.
Based upon the amount of
But
parking spaces.
it's not segregated in this case. So couldn't you segregate it, and an amount for you and an amount for you?
Well, you can require, designate where the cars are located for sale as your approval process.
I mean, the way it stands now, he's got a fence, and I think if you said, well, we're gonna give you 45 cars for sale, that's 45 cars with window stickers out front,
Clearly
we don't wanna see them
marked.
double parked, we don't wanna see them stacked up in there, and clearly marked 45 cars. If you've got a car they've sold, they take the sticker out of it and it's sitting out back waiting for pickup, that probably shouldn't count, it's sold. I would think it's, the license is for 45
All
cars
right.
for sale.
So what not saying that they're not very honest car people, that they happen to someday find that they have 52 cars. But they're only limited to 45 cars, so they stick 7 cars over on the other side and they don't put any documentation on it. Isn't that a violation?
Yeah, well, they may have a violation with state law as well, because a used car for sale has to have documentation on the windows and so
Right.
forth. If then they got bigger problems.
So, you know, a
I mean, you
part of
can't
this
show a
is-
car without it having all that
You know,
documentation.
part of this is satisfying you. We want you to be satisfied. We don't want you being cited all the time. The second part is, the inspector is going out there, and if we ask him to do something he can't do, he's gonna err on the side of what he believes is the law, in which case you could end up in violation. You end up here, you violated the trust that we gave you, and we have to take away the license. We don't wanna do that.
I think that just adding some to it would alleviate that, you know? If he comes by and counts more than 45 cars out front, then he should do something and violate us, because there's too many cars stuffed in there. You know, then it becomes too hard to move around.
Ken,
During the winter, when you get a blizzard, you know what that's like? I mean, he knows what it's like. It's a whole day just lost. You know, if you're lucky, it might be 2 days, you know, moving cars, and you can't just put that many. And that's why you guys have these laws, and I understand them, because you can't. Where are you gonna put the cars, and where are you gonna put the snow? So you need to leave open space.
Ken,
It
when you-
doesn't look good when you stuff cars in there anyways.
when you get a visit from the building inspector, do you just get a letter in the mail, or does he come
I've never
in?
seen him, ever.
So you just get a letter saying, I counted the cars and here's your,
He's probably there before he opens in the morning,
Yeah.
usually. They're probably out there about 7 o'clock in the morning, before he's open for business.
I
In-
think, I
in
think
the-
the 45 will settle most of the problems. They're big boys, they know what they gotta do.
All right, we would hope, if we prove this, we would hope not to see you back again. And if you get cited, you know, we're not gonna look at it kindly. Do you feel comfortable with that?
I'm fine with it.
You'll be seeing him in 6 months for renewal.
Yeah.
You can inquire at that time if there've been any issues.
Do you have any last questions, Pat?
I would just ask, should fire department check is to be sure that they could respond if there's any issues there?
I think they were part of the sign-off. They signed off.
Oh, okay, did they?
Yeah.
That for 45? Okay.
Yes, for 45, they've signed
That's
off,
fine
yeah.
then.
No motion.
All right, do we have a motion to approve their application?
I will make a motion to approve the application. Well, it's a transfer of the license,
This
plus
is a
the-
transfer of a license, and they're adding
an
on
additional
the additional,
Additional
car
vehicles.
capacity. And adding more, so approving the transfer of the Class 2 auto license with the addition of 10
Capacity
extra
to
cars.
45 cars.
For a total of 45 cars.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
We apologize, we're not trying to give you a hard
No, I
time.
understand.
But we would like you to be satisfied.
That's what discussion's for.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
The next one, you just,
We have one more license.
oh, that's the same one, really, right?
No, this is where the PS was.
This is where they were.
Yeah, that's where Phil Smith was, and now you got a new guy going into 103.
103 Tingsboro Road.
Oh,
So
it
now
says
we
Pri-
have-
It says 103 Princeton Street on my,
That's a typo. Yeah.
okay.
It's 103
103 Tingsboro Road.
Kingsborough Road.
Yeah, it's 103 Tingsboro. That's where the Phil Smith is moving out of there. My name is Edward Gukasov. I'm representing Broadway. I'm the owner of Broadway. I was a car dealer in Arlington for 10 years, and my lease has expired there. I've been looking out for a new location, and I found out that Phil Smith has a idea to move his business to another location, so I've decided to take it over. I'm taking over his location without any alterations or changes. I'm aware of how many dealer license he has currently at 103 Kingsborough, and I just want to use it in the same way.
Do we have any information on that, or?
Yeah, it's in there. There are no concerns. It's signed off by
A
all.
little confusing because we get so many cars.
Yeah,
issues at
same
the
street
time.
number, right, same street number.
You live where?
I live at 45 Balkley Road in Littleton, Massachusetts.
You live in Littleton now?
Yeah.
All right. So you've always been in this general area?
I lived in Burlington prior to that, yeah.
Right. And how many cars is the lot limited to?
9. Dealer license for 9 cars, but there is 14 parking spaces for employees, extra parking for employees and customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you want to move in, will you be moving in right away?
Yeah, as soon as I'll get the license, I have to submit a dealer's bond, and after that, the license will be issued, if you will, granted.
Anyone have any questions? Do we have a motion to accept the plan?
I'll make a motion to approve the Class 2, same as before, the Class 2 auto dealer's license, or Class 1.
Class 2.
Class 2,
At 103 Tingsboro Road,
103 Tingsboro Road,
9 vehicles.
for 9 vehicles.
A second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I vote.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
We have town manager reports.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a few items for the board's consideration this evening. The first one, I'm pleased to report to the board under the Housing Choice Community Designation. Earlier this afternoon at the State House, there was a ceremony with the Lieutenant Governor and Secretary Ash and such, and at that time, the town of Chelmsford received designation as the first group of communities under the state's new Housing Choice Community Program, and so we've got this, real fancy
Wow.
presentation there, the whereas, as we call them, presentations, and so, we were recognizing that today. There were a number of communities, including our neighboring communities. We had submitted our own application, but the Northern Middlesex Council of Government assisted, so our sister communities of Billerica, Littleton, Tewksbury also received of the 67 that were issued today. And why this matters is, one, it shows the town's commitment in recent years to the development of additional housing, which is one of the concerns long-term in the economy. It also, more importantly, provides the town with additional qualifications for prioritized state grant monies. That's what this is about. The state basically gives you the incentives under their grant programs, and obviously qualifying as a choice initiative would provide that for the town in the future. And so we would anticipate, as we start going for MassWorks and other infrastructure type of grants, that this will assist our efforts. And again, it's part of there is a discussion at the state level in terms of even amending some of the state zoning bylaw requirements, the whole priority in terms of housing designation. So I wanted to congratulate the community on that, and also recognize the efforts by Evan Belansky, who submitted the application on behalf of the town. So that's the Housing Choice Community Designation that I think we spoke of a few meetings back. The next one is the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant application. And we have submitted a grant application for this. This is the whole issue of resiliency and adaptation in terms of climate change. And what's going on here is we're basically going to be being rewarded funds to do an assessment in terms of what areas of town, obviously the communities across the Commonwealth providing to assess our vulnerabilities and strengths under the changing climate conditions, and basically, once again, develop and prioritize action plans and grant funding through the Commonwealth. And so that application will be submitted. We anticipate an award on that in the state within the next 2 weeks, which will give us a $10,000 grant to do any assessments. And the assessment, just to give people an understanding, it's not, as you know, we're fortunate we don't have a lot of, natural disasters as if we were a coastal community or some of the communities out in Western Mass that have some issues. But we do have, as we know, we have riverbank flooding. We also have, the issues of stormwater runoff and so forth. And these grants allow things such as streetscaping to up to purchasing of conservation land. So again, this is a new initiative. I think Massachusetts was first in the nation of developing a program for climate change preparedness. And so we're moving on board with that initiative as well. So I will keep the board updated in terms of the results of this application. The next one is the Regional Planning Assistant Grants. And again, this is another state initiative. And this has to do from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And this one, again, very similar to the Soul Smart one we did several months ago. This one's being coordinated by Northern Middlesex Council of Governments. And under the planning assistance grants, they're focusing on two areas. One is for solar zoning, which is to, again, do an assessment of each of the regional communities' zoning bylaws to allow roof-mounted photovoltaic or solar panels by right, except in historic preservation considerations, and also to make sure that businesses have these same rights. And so that will be the first assessment under this program, under the regional application. You can see where this is going, because I think California is looking at almost requiring new homes to have, single-family homes to have their own solar voltaic. So this will be the first planning assistance grant. And the second one is under, again, going back to the issue of housing stock and additional housing supply on the economy. And this would do an assessment of the town's accessory dwelling units. And again, looking at the constraints on what we used to call in-law apartments, but basically they're no longer constrained to in-laws. So it's basically, they now call them accessory dwelling units, and looking at how the town's existing housing stock could be modified to allow for this new housing opportunity. And so again, NIMCOG will look at the zoning and assist in the public information awareness process to look at this. Now, again, these don't compel any action by the town. What they are is they're planning studies, and then the town can look at that with selectmen and planning board, and then ultimately to town meeting if the town wishes to modify its zoning bylaws for these areas.
Is
So-
this something, these two last categories,
Yeah.
something that Evan Belansky is heavily involved with?
He will be, because it's all done through the planners, but this one is really driven by NIMCOG. So Beverly Woods is driving this as a regional consideration, much like we just did the solar, Soul Smart designation. So Evan would be involved because it's zoning on accessory dwelling units and solar. While I'm mentioning it, Lisa is doing the one on biotech-ready assessment, so she's handling that area right now. So again, it's all part of the whole idea of being a community that's examining what are really contemporary issues by the Commonwealth and in the community. So what I need to do is, the deadline of these are always quick with NIMCOG, as Pat knows, whether it's DLTA or these regional planning assistants. We have to notify them no later than May 15th, which is tomorrow, because their proposal deadline is May 23rd. I would ask the board to authorize these submittal, because again, there's no downside. Having somebody examine your bylaws and make public awareness doesn't compel us to do anything. But it does give us the ability to at least have an outside analysis to see, are there areas. And the other part is this whole issue of the whole regional conformity, so that, that there's a, sort of a standard in the area of for doing solar and accessory units and so forth. Again, in order to, make it less cumbersome or increase transparency and clarity in what has to be required to get this work done.
So do we have a motion?
Well, so we're approving this, or we're making the motion tonight.
To submit an application, for
Right.
NIMCOG to submit an application.
Do we get to see the results, or does that?
Oh, yeah,
only
no,
get
no,
shared
no,
with
no,
TBC?
no, come back here.
I didn't know if it was just gonna be EDC or.
No, it'll come back here, and just
wanna
like
see
the
the
Soul
results.
Smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, because it's those are obviously contemporary issues. The issue of solar, particularly if you saw the numbers there, the Massachusetts electricity and utility prices are so much higher than the rest of the country in this region. And then obviously the issue of housing supply with the accessory units, it's a big issue in terms of the future.
Well, since you mentioned that, am I correct in that some people in the state want to do away with this competitive sourcing of electricity? That doesn't affect
Yeah,
our
that
situation.
doesn't affect aggregation. Basically, the Attorney General is trying to address what they call deception in the marketplace, but that is not with aggregation. It's the idea of the sort of, they don't tell you the penalties for changing and so forth, but that hasn't happened yet. But I think the bigger issue is the Senate and the governor have come out in very strong support in the last several weeks about changing the standards for housing. In fact, Massachusetts is the only state in New England, and in fact, the closest other state is Tennessee, where you still have a 2/3 requirement to change zoning bylaws. And so they're looking to relax that because of basically to a majority, which is what you find in most states in the country. Because the big push is that the economy is going to suffer if there isn't affordable housing for people to live in the whole Commonwealth. So again, this doesn't commit us to anything, it just allows us to participate in the planning assistant grants.
I thought these were really worthy initiatives.
thank you.
So,
As being liaison to the planning board and EDC, to hear them talk about what the state's, how they're rethinking housing in the state. You know, it was always 1 acre lots, one house. Now they're scratching their head saying, we chewed up all this open space, we gotta go to higher densities,
Yeah.
leave the space open. So for me, this, you know, is a no-brainer. They should
It
definitely-
absolutely is. Planned density is the only way you're gonna maintain all of that green space for people to actually
I think it was,
play and
we
be.
attended the AMIA meeting in Boston. I went to one on this topic, and I think it's Nantucket said they were doing 30 acres, 30 units an acre in order to keep the rest of the island open and allow the island to grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's 30 units an acre. That's some serious density.
Sure.
But that's, I mean, that's
what you
how
gotta
you
do.
get the
So the
open
beach.
space. Otherwise, everything is fenced backyard and there's nothing.
I don't mind my fence back here.
I don't mind it either. I like mine very much. Keeps my kids, contained, but,
All right. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize, how should I word this, Paul? Authorize you to apply for these grants?
Yes, it's to
Yeah,
notify, yeah,
support.
yes, support.
Support.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion of support
I would second that.
for the grants.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you. The next one is to notify the board and the community that, again, back to NIMCOG, they got a chair who's, must be getting a lot done there.
That must be it, yeah, absolutely.
But the Northern Middlesex Government has issued an RFP for the preliminary design for a replacement of the temporary work bridge.
One
which
that's
is-
been there forever?
the one-
From
yeah.
1989?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the early 80s, yes. So that will be issued, and again, they have a quick turnaround on that because they want to get to 25% design development. And the good news is they're only limiting the proposals to the favorite initiative, so there's no more any discussion about putting the Rourke Bridge in Vinyl Square or any of this other stuff that were thrown out.
Have they given
While
any
back.
type of plan specs on it? Are they doing 4 lanes? Are they doing?
Hopefully
almo-
just
it almost
bigger.
definitely
4
would be-
lanes
would be
plus the
a 6
breakdown, that
lanes.
would be
And
amazing.
I can send you the
Yes, if you
the report that we did.
There must
a
be a
few years
Mm-hmm.
woman in
ago.
charge of them that's really
That's
getting this
right.
stuff done.
You got that right.
All right, so thank you, Madam Chair. Another one that's closer to home is the mobile land in the town center. As you know, it's unsightly. It's been years now that it's sat there vacant. We reached out again to Mobile Corp. You see the correspondence. We've said, what is going on? And the only, the answer right now is they're still evaluating what to do with the property. However, they've inquired with the town as to whether the town would be interested in accepting the donation of the land with the deed restriction that the land never be sold, leased, or donated to another party. So in other words, would the town be interested in set aside that as open space? And if that were to occur, then obviously we would go to a garden club, similar to what was done at the former fire station site.
A beautiful site.
And do that. Obviously, what it does do is it constrains the development there, because now you're removing that parcel of land from
So-
development. So that's the trade-off,
But
but
it's a hard piece to develop.
It is a
mean,
hard piece, but my concern is that because it was a gas station,
Right.
I mean, is this like Superfund site
no,
qualifying?
no.
Like, how
They
dirty
did a
is it?
cleanup though, right?
They did a cleanup, yeah.
They've already-
The
they dug it all out
contamination,
and
the
they-
So
contamination.
if I go
in that-
plant pumpkins there, I can eat them and I won't,
Well, I'm not so sure of that, because the contamination in that area was from the cleaners. That was the contamination that went
From across the street.
across the street. That was the
Right, dry
downgrading
cleaners.
contamination.
Oh, I don't dry clean.
But anyway, so that's where it is. I just wanted to let people know, because now that the weather's nice, people are out, and you see it, people are
It's
cutting through
ugly,
there. It's
yeah.
ugly. And so with the board's approval, I would reach back to Mobile and say, yeah, if the town would be willing to accept it as an open space with the restriction. Doesn't guarantee they're going to do it, but at least it moves the dialogue along.
They sweeten the pot and give us some money so that we can put a nice little pocket park there or something?
Fountain.
I don't know.
A
I mean,
fountain?
Obviously, it's landlocked, and so,
I mean, but
really no
you
park.
could put some nice paving
Is there
stones and
conti-
picnic tables, something nice.
Public park?
Is it contiguous to
park.
the library?
No park.
no.
Public
no.
parking,
There's a
no.
parcel in between that and the library. And that's where it all came apart when the service station closed because of the different property owners.
Because that would make a nice parking.
Right,
Oh, we
Or
could
that
do parking too.
right. Although it might not be sightly.
Like
No,
you could
but
walk.
but the biggest complaint down in that center amongst the
parking.
business owners is no parking.
Right.
Right, you don't get foot traffic because there's no parking, but.
Plenty of parking, just have to look for it.
Just have to jaywalk to find it.
No, you don't.
So you need a
I'm
motion.
looking for the sense of the board if to reach out, notify back to mobile that the town would be interested in.
I don't know why we wouldn't be.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, my only
Um,
concern is that we carefully,
Well, if it did come
I
back.
feel like, yes,
if it
looking
came-
gift horse in mouth, but it was a gas station.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that this is not going to be,
The Katrina Road.
yeah.
Again, if it comes to that, we could inquire
put
with the
some
21.
Like, can we put like a clause in there,
You
like,
could do it, you could do it.
I want like a lemon law attachment to this.
Yeah, you could ask for a 21.
We take it, well, but could we pay for it?
Prior to,
He's not gonna wanna pay for
Well,
it.
they've already done it,
They
probably.
probably have done it themselves.
As long as we get the town could probably pay for the 21B to
Right.
be done and make sure it's clean.
Okay.
Because they had to remove the tanks when they closed it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And they
I
took
just,
up all that land.
you know,
I wouldn't want the liability of transferring it without
Exactly.
having it done, because it would come back to them.
Right.
You know, They must have done it.
You wouldn't like to see an Arby's with drive-ups on both sides?
No drive-ups.
Oh, okay.
I mean, would it be a Dunkin's with the drive up? Because I feel like that could be popular in town.
You know, that doesn't at all fall into don't sell it, does it?
I think open space would be nice.
Yes.
Want to make a motion,
So
Ken?
I'll make a motion to allow, to
express interest,
express interest to the owner as far as a donation on the property goes, as long as it's.
permanent
clean.
open space, yeah.
And authorize you to check
Yep.
for,
Yep.
test for cleaning.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, and then the last thing is, it's another award. Gene Parzelli recently received the award on behalf of the town for the Health Value Award for the town's wellness activities, and so we're recipient of that. And again, you have all the documentation in your packet. Like, we were of initiative, the wellness programs to the community, and this was a national designation, and she actually traveled to DC, and the town finished in the top 5 of this, wellness initiatives. And again, it was just more demonstrating the commitment the town had towards wellness initiatives. So just want to recognize that effort in the community. And then the last item I have was town meeting follow-up, and the only item that I could see that needs immediate action from town meeting has to do with the 101 Mill Road property. We're, unless the board has objections, we're looking to reissue the RFP with the amended covenant as per the board's discussion, and have that advertised within the next week in the Central Register, and then hopefully be back to you perhaps by the end of June, with the results of the RFP. And I think that was in keeping with the board's previous, actually the previous board's vote. That's why I bring it back here, because it's a different board. But unless the board has any objections, then we will be out marketing that property with the deed restriction.
You need a motion.
Am I correct that if someone does make it an inn,
Yeah.
they
That's
have to
allowed.
use the name?
No, there was
No,
no.
we did not
They
vote
can
on
call it
that.
whatever they want.
Okay.
Yeah, the town meeting vote
They could
failed.
call it,
When,
Ken's-
whatever,
Ken's,
Glenn Diggs Inn.
Yeah.
You
I
sure
won't be
does.
betting.
I'll make a
Sorry.
motion to give Paul approval to send the,
Issue the
Issue the
documents for the
RFP.
disposition of the property, yeah.
issue the documents for the disposition of the property.
Is there a
Second.
Any further discussion? It's going. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Thank you.
I'm coming.
All right, you have quite a few
Number of appointments, yeah. I would seek the board's, you want to do them as a slate, or?
Yeah, let's do the whole thing.
All right, yeah. I'm seeking the appointment of Jamie Outland Brown for a one-year term as an associate member of the Board of Appeals, term ending June 30th, 2019. Kevin Sullivan to fill an unexpired term ending June 30th, 2020 on the Board of Assessors. Janet Askenberg for a term ending June 30th, 2019 on the Center Village Master Plan Committee. Paul Smith for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2019 on the Commission on Disabilities. And Deb Taverna for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2019 on the Historic District Commission. And Brian Zuzik for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2019 on the Tree Committee.
Do we have a motion to approve all of
I'll
them?
make a motion to approve the 6 town manager appointments as proposed.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. All right, the next item is the Board of Selectmen appointments to the committee to study splitting the tax rate. And we had reached out initially to various groups in the town and asked them to appoint someone if they would like to. Some of them are here tonight, as far as the groups, but we haven't appointed anyone from the Board of Selectmen. Perhaps we should do that first. Is there any nominations for a member of the Board of Selectmen to be part of that group?
I nominate Pat Wojcik.
A second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Congratulations, Pat.
Congratulations, Pat.
Thank you, Pat.
I know you do a great job. All right, we also asked for someone from the Board of Assessors, and they approved and recommended someone who has been involved in the town quite a while, Mary Franz. She's not here tonight, but I'm sure she's going to do a great job. I hear her ability to handle numbers is without peer, and that's certainly required by this. We asked from someone from the Finance Committee, and they were a little tardy, but they did come up, and they recommended not someone who's currently on their group, but someone who has been there in the past, and that's Bichette, who has been involved in the town in many things, and I'm sure she's going to do a great job representing them. We asked for a member of the CBA. John, you've come back with someone on that group?
Sent in the application.
Tom Boucher.
Tom Boucher. All right, who's your final choice?
Yes.
Okay, great. We requested someone from the Chelmsford Business Development area, either Evan Belansky or Lisa, and I had met both of them, and they kind of indicated that Evan was going to do it. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, Evan will be on there. So that would be the five from various groups within the town. And then we were going to pick 4 residents. We received applications from 9, actually now it's 8 because Sheila Pichette was one of them. So we take her off the list. There were 8 people who were extremely well qualified. They provided excellent resumes. Some people were, people who've been involved in the town before, some people were new. Since Pat was elected to be part of that, the 4 of us, the remaining 4 of us would pick. We might as well start with Ken, since we're over that side. Do you have a recommendation who you would like to see on here, of the 8 people?
Well, I read through the applications of the 8 people, and I was looking for someone who was going to be sort of unbiased and middle of the road, and I read Mike Rigney's application. So if I had my choice, I'd like to choose Mike. He's been active school committee and a bunch of different town boards, and I think he can remain sort of independent. So I'd recommend Mike.
Great choice. I'm going to recommend Daniel Burke. Daniel Burke was part of the Charter Review Committee. I know he attended all the meetings, was the sounding board for many of the issues they had there. So I think he would do a great job. Emily?
I'd like to recommend John Edward because of his background in economic and social development and economics. I think that would be invaluable to such a committee.
How about you, George?
I'm going to recommend Helen Blasioli. I've worked on a couple of committees, and she's a very hard worker. She loves the town, works very hard.
All right.
Thank you.
So they would be meeting alternate Mondays from us in this room. Chelmsford Telemedia will be televising it. Hopefully it will be a fair and open discussion, educating the public about the whole issue. I think, again, going back to Mary Fran's, so two of the things we asked specifically to look at was the impact of the 9 special classifications that were part of the original law and how they affected the average Chelmsford resident in 2004 and how they affect the average Chelmsford resident in 2018. Probably quite different, but we don't know. That's part of what they'll be doing. And also looking at when towns do go from non-classification to classification, kind of where do they start? Obviously, we can go up to 50% higher, but they're looking for some guidance from other towns, see what they did. Again, the board will be trying to take all this into consideration and also the reasons why a classification can be allowed, so that when it comes early December, when we make our vote, we can make a very intelligent decision representative of both the residents and the businesses in town. I might, we have Frank Reen here tonight. Frank, can I ask you a couple of questions since you happen to be here? One of the things that might help them starting off, do you feel that you could prepare, let's say, 10 binders with the 1995 study that was done by Chelmsford, the official state statute, a copy of that,
Yep.
a copy of the 1994 study by Chelmsford, and a copy of the 1995 study by Chelmsford. So they have all that past history.
2005.
Sorry?
2000.
2005.
2000, right. I know what you mean. In addition to that, I'm preparing a report that'll kind of walk through. What I did was I grabbed the mission statement, kind of pulled it apart for some of the things you would identify that you want to see, and begin to address those and put them in a report form. I'm sure there'll be many questions. It also stated that it's kind of fluid, that it could be expanding the mission statement. So by all means, feel free to reach out to me and I'll add to it. But I've tried to address everything that's cited in the report, in the mission statement. As well, conclude with all of these items here, as along with some other DOR data to support that.
Since you're the representative of the Board of Selectmen, Pat, do you feel their first meeting should be next week or in 3 weeks? What do you feel is the appropriate thing to do?
Well, we'd have to get all these people sworn in. Well, next week we have a meeting,
Right,
Well-
we're meeting next week, right, then it's Memorial Day.
and then it's the holiday, yeah. So the next Monday that we don't meet is the 11th,
Yeah, June, yeah, the second Monday in June, yeah.
would be June 11th.
So you feel that would be appropriate?
I think so, yeah.
All right, maybe, Paul, can you notify all the intended parties? Sure. All right, thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is town accountant and town manager performance appraisals. Ken had brought up several meetings ago at this point, because town meeting got in the way. You had researched and came up with some, an alternate plan, more detailed, with more categories in place. We had kind of tabled it till after the election. My feeling is that we should give those out to the members of the board, also to Jean Paziali for her reference, and have a discussion about it at our next meeting, and invite Jean to come into the meeting with her comments.
I can email it.
Do you want to hear next Monday?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we would try to schedule it early in the meeting, Paul, if we
Okay,
could, so
sure.
she doesn't have to stay
Yeah.
around late. We also, at that time, should discuss how we anticipate using that in terms of, typically, we have always had 2 people reviewing Paul, 2 people reviewing Darlene. Now we have a form. Are we having everyone evaluated? I understand there was some problems associated with that recently. Am I correct in that?
Well, the Wayland decision from the SJC.
Maybe you can just discuss a
Yeah.
little bit.
What happened in the Wayland case from the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court is the Wayland Board of Selectmen did what most towns do, because it was under the guidance from the Attorney General of Massachusetts, is they individually did their performance appraisals, submitted them to the chair. The chair then compiled those and then brought it forward to the next Board of Selectmen meeting. And the Supreme Judicial Court considered that a deliberation, because opinions were being shared between the board. And so the court ruled 2 ways. One is you do that sharing at a public meeting that's posted, or two, that at the time you were to do that compilation, it has to be immediately shared with the public as a public document, so therefore the public is not disadvantaged to the same information that the board has at that time.
So do you have a pre-meeting before a Board of Selectmen meeting where you compiled it and then came in a Board of Selectmen meeting?
No, you can't, because that's a subcommittee. If you do that as a subcommittee, it has to be posted. So that's what, because they define
So you compile it and post it immediately?
yeah. Or you just do it at the board meeting. That's what, it's either way, those are the two options.
So this affects all the towns that do it this way, I
Well,
assume, going
by a
forward.
public body. In other words, it doesn't affect, performance appraisals of, that don't fall into the direct jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. So in our case, you have two employees, the town accountant and the town manager. Obviously, you also appoint town council, but that's not done through that methodology.
So is it getting around that by doing it a traditional way in that two people actually do the review, but they use the new
Then
form?
that becomes a subcommittee of the Board of
Right, you
Selectmen.
can't do it that way, right?
Yeah.
So what's the recommended way to do this?
You can individually do it and then present it and discuss it at a meeting. That's generally your safest way of doing it.
Sounds so much fun.
Yeah.
And then somebody would have to consolidate
Somebody
it
would then
from there.
consolidate it, but then at least you've done it in an open session.
So can the consolidation be done like by the town accountant and
Sure, that's not a board.
kind of like
that's-
coming in with the envelope?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that person could do it, but you then would have to accept that as a board together at a public meeting, so then she'd have to provide you with the individual documents and the compilation document.
Would we then be allowed to have a executive session?
No,
No.
you cannot conduct a performance appraisal in executive session.
But what about a monetary award? Can
That you
be
can do,
done?
that's
I mean, once
That's
all
strategy
that
for the
is
board.
open.
That's
once
strategy by the
open,
board for negotiations with non-union personnel, which is one of the exemptions
Just based on whatever that
from the
comes
open
out
meeting
as.
law, right?
Well, that's something to think about over the next week.
I don't know. I'd want the monetary review in public.
But
But we can talk
you're
about that.
basically negotiating pay. So, I mean,
And
But
benefits.
pay is public. It's public knowledge, isn't it?
it's a,
Yes, well, yes, it has.
It's
to.
Ultimately,
I mean,
it is.
so-
ultimately, right,
But the,
ultimately.
but the discussion isn't, between the five of us.
Right.
So that's an
That
executive
could
session.
get, that
Okay.
could get,
Okay.
You have the right, as the five of you, to go into a closed session to discuss strategy or conduct negotiations with non-union personnel. That's
so
correct.
can we go into executive session to discuss strategy
Yeah.
as a separate issue
Mhm.
from the
Performance appraisal,
from the performance appraisal,
exactly.
so that we have an understanding of, in theory, what we want to do, anticipating what that that final report might be, so that we're prepared to finish it in one night.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
If that were the case, you could do
we've done
you
that
could do
before,
that, yeah, you could do that, you do the executive session before the meeting, or you could do it at the end of the meeting and announce you'll come back.
Now, if
To
we,
open session.
if we use the old form,
Mhm.
are we still in the same
Yes,
boat?
yes.
All the new form does is just drills down in areas with
Right,
more
right.
clarity.
So we would have to bring Darlene in as well and do the same thing with her, right?
Yes,
How many cities and towns are involved in this now?
351 cities.
That'll be doing it this way?
Right, yeah, that's what the court determined.
All right, so the first step is that we review the form, we come up with an acceptable final list, and then we go from there. Personally, I would like to see if we can get it done by July 1st. We never seem to get it done by July 1st. It would be nice to do that. I think it's more fair to everybody.
Definitely not fair to Paul if we don't.
Well, we never
Yeah.
seem to make it.
Well, let's
So-
make sure that happens.
You agree, Paul? You agree over there, George?
Mm.
All right. All right, so you'll see that we all get the information, get it to Gene.
Yeah, I mean, here's a copy, there's a copy there for Gina. I can email it to Gene
Okay,
tomorrow.
and ask her to come to your June 21st meeting.
Yep.
And then the expectation is you'd probably would do this at your either June
Fourth.
4th meeting or June 25th meeting, yeah.
So there's no issue with me emailing this to everybody at once, right?
It's not filled out, right.
Good.
It'll be in the packet, yeah.
Just send it. If you have a printed one, I'll take
Yeah, I
it.
do.
Otherwise, yeah.
This will take one.
Sure.
Is on your copier?
Yep,
Oh, good.
it's on my dime, chief.
All the better.
Always is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. All right, we have three meeting minutes. First is the BOS regular meeting minutes of 4/9/18. Does anyone have any questions concerning that one? Motion, Ken?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 9th, 2018.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
On a side note, I signed up to be a Minuteman, just so you know.
I know that.
Yeah, after you saw
That's
the
why I
rain.
know.
No,
I was there.
From now on, I'm gonna be,
So you're gonna be leading?
to be a
He's
Minuteman.
gonna be a minute.
Are you gonna be in costume?
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you gonna get
that's
to
be
walk,
awesome.
you gonna walk
Yeah.
next year, finally?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I love
carry,
it.
carry a musket and everything.
I
How much
love
those
it.
muskets weigh?
Good. I love it.
All right. We're gonna
That's
look
what
for
they were
that picture.
talking about when they said that.
We may even give you one of those special citations for meritorious work.
We'll get you a plaque.
So we have the BOS regular meeting minutes of 4/23/18. Anyone have any questions concerning those? Have a motion, Ken?
Make a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes dated April 23rd, 2018.
Do you have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And we have the BOS regular meeting minutes from 4/30/18. Anyone have any questions concerning those? Have a motion?
Motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 30th, 2018.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. We have the Selectmen liaison reports and referrals. Pat, you want to go first?
Okay. Just a couple of things. This Saturday is Armed Forces Day, May 19th, and has been a tradition for many years now, Agway, South Chelmsford Agway will be hosting a cookout, and all the proceeds go to the Chelmsford Military Community Covenant. So runs from 11 to 2 on Saturday. Come by if you want to have an excellently made hamburger or a hot dog and get a soft drink, $1 a piece. You can't go wrong for $1 for a hot dog or hamburger. So we'll be out there, rain or shine. Hopefully it'll be a nice day. This Saturday, May 19th, 11 to 2. The other thing I wanted to mention, last Friday, George and I were at Lockheed Martin, where our public safety departments conducted an active shooter drill for that facility. It was quite interesting, and it's very intense, seeing how the response happens, what happens from the time the incident is first reported to police, fire, ambulance, EMTs, everybody showing up. It definitely makes you think about what can happen anywhere. I was glad to be able to observe, not be a participant in any manner. Hope we never have to use the skills that that our public safety officials and personnel show that day. But it's definitely good to know that they are capable and willing and able to do that. Also, just I'll mention today there was a brief ceremony over at the Forefathers Ceremony for the only patrolman from the Chelmsford Police Department who was killed on duty, and I can't remember his first name. Do you remember his first name? Adams, but his last.
Was it Richard Adams?
I don't think so. I can't remember his first name, but it was Adams. It was in George. Maybe you were there. It was 1927.
I was out of town
You were out of town that day.
Yeah, I was in Washington, I think, signing some new bill.
So it's great that the police department recognizes him every Public Safety Memorial Day, which is usually on May 15th. So again,
Donald Francis Adams.
Okay, Donald.
Oh,
Adams.
just that.
Okay, there we go. All right, thank you. All right, that's all I have.
Just one question on the disaster evaluation. Am I correct, there was one small glitch, they didn't tell other communities, and one of the other towns,
Yeah.
like, thought it might be real?
They got a radio call in from, I think it was Bill Ruckus, saying, is this real or is it fake? They said it's fake, and they stood down.
Oh, I hadn't heard that,
hadn't
but I'm
heard
sure
that,
that's
yeah.
one of the lessons learned that they reviewed afterwards, yeah. But I know they did try to reach out to all the neighbors around there, and they closed down the street for a while so so it wouldn't, accidentally have somebody driving
It
by.
was very
and-
realistic.
Yes, it absolutely was, yeah.
But you can, anything?
Yeah, on that, my son was actually, as a reserve, took place, and he said it was, they used blanks and shotguns, and,
It was still loud, yeah.
yeah, it was really. and
Inside
they-
the
I think-
building, you wouldn't believe how loud it is and how much smoke there is, just.
Yeah.
It was.
And even
yeah.
one of the police officers, they didn't tell him what, and he knew he was coming into the building, but he didn't know what his role was. And he was immediately shot with a shotgun and said, "You're out." And he didn't even know. So that, I mean, it was meant to be very realistic and very educational for the police.
They had some actors, within from
Yeah.
the company, and they really overplayed their roles. But I mean, I don't mean overplayed, but they were really
Into it.
real. I mean, it was very.
Took him 7 months to plan this.
Yeah. Gary Hannigan and John Killen, I think.
Yeah.
kinda-
Did an incredible job. I don't have any liaison reports, but just a reminder that on May 30th, we have Chelmsford High School prom. And the Chelmsford High PTO does a great thing that night where they have they open up the senior center for the after prom breakfast, and it goes all night. They give out tons of giveaways to try to keep the students in the building instead of out driving around partying. So to that end, they're looking for any donations. If you're a parent of a CHS student and want to volunteer to do some of the overnight shifts as a chaperone, and I always say this because my wife is the president of the PTO, and she's pulling her hair out because donations are way down. I want to say like 30% down. And those they usually have a lot of nice gifts, so kids stay because they give them away every hour, and they get bigger and bigger as the night goes. And it's a great way to keep the students there. And if there's no good gifts to give away, then there tend more to just leave at 2 in the morning and go out. And that's not what you want a kid doing on prom night. So if you have kids in the school system want to volunteer and/or would like to make a donation, feel free to reach out to the Chelmsford High School PTO. And then another note on the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. They always seem to have great concerts coming up, and I just read about the world-famous Hal McIntyre Orchestra coming on May 20th. Actually looked pretty cool, so keep them in mind every weekend when you're looking for something to do.
Great. George?
Most of my stuff's been covered. I mean, it was a great day Friday. It was a very rewarding experience. So that's it, really.
Emily, you have anything?
I will be going into, I don't know if this is officially tied in with the town, but Paul Cohen clued me into the Massachusetts Women's Advocacy Group, and they are doing an advocacy day in Boston on Wednesday, so I will be going there to specifically advocate to the state reps for Chelmsford for legislation that affects women and children and families and benefits women and children and families. So I will be spending some time there lobbying legislators on a variety of bills that specifically address anything from paid family leave to pregnant workers' rights to education to a variety of things that specifically directly impact and improve the lives of women, children, and families. So,
All right. And the only thing I have is I want to congratulate Paul for the way he put together the town meeting. It went along in 2 nights.
that was
People
excellent.
didn't think it was going to do that, but it was a pleasant surprise by all in attendance. Thank you, Paul.
Thank the moderator with the clock.
That was quick.
Thank you, John Curlin.
John Curlin.
Unfortunately, I lost on the under. So.
Yeah.
All right. And unless we have any press questions, we know Chelmsford Independent came in a little late. Do you have any questions tonight? Thank you. Our next regular meeting is on May 21st, and we look forward to seeing more Chelmsford people there. And
The Water District. The Water District's coming in next Monday.
Hey, we usually pay a bonus. We have to pay a bonus for that one. You get performance money for that, John?
We'll have to discuss that later.
I think you should get some overtime, you know.
all right, so do we have a motion
I'd
to
like to make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? I don't think so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.